Today I'll be reading The Mighty Miss Malone by Christopher Paul Curtis, Chapter 3, The Pie Lady's Revenge. We stepped onto the porch. Jimmy grabbed my arm before I could knock. This was my fault, Deza. There ain't no shame of blaming your game. Give me the 10. I rolled my eyes. This was more Jimmy's jazz musician talk. Besides, he said, what if she comes out shooting? He knocked. A very pretty, very tall, and distinctive-looking woman with a glorious mane of pulled back, silver and black hair, and tiny glasses on her nose opened the door. Hello, may I help you? Excuse me, ma'am. My name is Jimmy Malone, and it was me who took your pie. The woman looked over her little glasses and put her hand on her hip. Oh, really? Yes, ma'am. I come to apologize, give you a 10 back, and see what I got to do to make it up to you. She came out on the porch. She was dressed like a rich lady in a very nice blue dress and a lovely pair of brown sandals. What do you propose? Jimmy said, I can do all kind of odd jobs until you tell me to stop, ma'am. The woman looked at me. You're his big sister? Oh, boy. No, ma'am. Jimmy's my older brother. I'm kind of big for my age. Jimmy said, you two ate that whole pie by yourselves? Jimmy said, no, ma'am. She didn't have nothing to do with it. A rotten mutt ate half the pie, and I was going to bring the other half back. But Dazza told me giving you a pie that a dog had been licking on, it wasn't right. So we give it to some folks in the park who were down on their luck. Oh, I see. You steal from the rich and give to the poor. Jimmy thought for a second and then he smiled. Yeah, that's what I did. I took from the rich and I gave to the poor. He said it like he was very humble and proud at the very same time. Only problem with your epiphany is I don't believe there's a rich person within 10 miles of here. All right, Robin Hood, how much did you eat? I'd have to look epiphany up in my dictionary. Jimmy said, I just ate the scraps I cut off that the dog didn't finish. She said, and how was it? Jimmy said, ma'am, the parts I ate had some dog slop on them, and they were a little crunchy from the dirt, but it was still the best thing I ever ate. She looked at me. Did you eat any? Well, ma'am, Mother says it's a grand and kind gesture when someone offers you food, and it's the height of rudeness to turn them down. The lady in the park handed me some, so I ate one slice of pie. What did you think? It was heavenly. She pointed at Jimmy. Robin Hood, sit on that top step. Miss Malone, come inside with me. Jimmy sat, and I said, ma'am, we're not allowed to go into strangers' homes. She smiled. Good girl. Make sure the thief doesn't take on the lamb. I'll be right back. I put up all the sarcasm I had. Thanks a bunch, Jimmy. I don't know if I'll ever speak to you again. You better not ever steal another thing in your life. I know, sis. The woman came back with a tray and 2 glasses brimming with milk and 2 pieces of apple pie. She set it on a table between 2 porch chairs. What's your name again, young lady? Deza Malone, ma'am. My name is Dr. Bracy. Please join me for some pie. And I know you won't turn me down because I'm making the sort of grand gesture which your mother has taught you is rude to refuse. Doctor? Maybe she could tell us why Jimmy had stopped growing 3 years ago. Thank you very much, Dr. Bracy. I sat and she handed me a paper napkin and a fork. My feet dangled in the chair, but I crossed my ankles and spread the napkin on my lap. She said, why do I suspect you do well in school, Deza? I don't know, ma'am, but I really do. How about pretty boy Floyd here? He works very hard, ma'am. She knew I was exaggerating. Really? Look what he left me. She passed me a folded up piece of paper. The note read, do not call the police. I promise to bring the tin pan back. Ears 8 cents. No punctuation, no word of a 4 letters spelled right, and a run-on sentence. Jimmy's work for sure. He'd written his name at the end of the note, but scratched it out with one measly line. At least he hadn't lied about paying her. But 8 cents. I sighed and handed Dr. Bracy the note. She gave me a piece of pie and said to Jimmy, "You look strong. You know how to chop wood?" "Sure I do, ma'am." "Fine. First, even though you left me 8 cents, you stole my pie. Do we agree?" "Yes, ma'am." "Now tell me, where you got 8 cents? Did you steal that too?" "I would never take no one's money. I worked all day cleaning out boxcars at the yard." "And they paid you 8 cents?" Jimmy's eyes cut to the side. "Really? They give me a dime, ma'am. But on the way home I saw a starving old blind lady crying in a wheelchair, and I give her 2 cents of it." I was mortified. Dr. Bracy laughed and picked up the other piece of pie. "Miss Malone, I was thinking about giving him this piece of pie, but now I'll enjoy it myself. It must be quite the experience living with this one." She said, "Jimmy, has school finished this year?" "We've only got 2 more days, ma'am." "So here's what you're going to do, Mr. Malone. I've got a field in the back that needs clearing, and there's some wood that needs chopping and stacking. Once you're done with that, I've got something else in mind. Dessa, do you think it would do any good for your brother to come here every night and work on his spelling and grammar?" It was Jimmy's turn to look mortified. We had tried to help Jimmy, but nothing seemed to stick. Mother says that different people are good at different things. And while being good at schooling is important, being a good singer is also very important. Not really, but it's a kind thing to say to someone who's a good singer. You can tutor him only if you want to torture him, ma'am. Fine, we'll see how he does around here. Jimmy, I'll expect to see you at 8 sharp Saturday morning. While Jimmy sat on the top step and pouted, Dr. Bracy and me ate our pie and chatted. She was a most delightful conversationalist. I told her all about my essay and how Clarice Ann Johnson and me were going to read every book in the Geary Public Library. She told me how she wasn't the kind of doctor who worked on sick people, but was the kind who had gone to college for 100 years to study about all books and writing. Me and Jimmy both jumped when a bell rang inside her house. "You got a telephone right in your house?" She smiled. "Excuse me for a moment." When she came back, I hopped out of the chair. "Thank you very much for the pie, Dr. Bracy. Our father gave us 45 minutes to return the dish, and we have to get going." She waved as she started piling things onto the tray. We were about halfway down the block when I heard, "Dessa, could you come here for a moment?" I ran back. "I can't seem to find your napkin, Miss Malone." I felt my face get hot. I looked at my shoes. She said, "I don't mind as long as you give whatever is left of your pie to Clarice and not to Jimmy. We can't encourage that kind of behavior, can we?" "No, ma'am. I'm sorry." "Dessa, you're a good girl. Next time, think things through." Alliteration. Going to school for 100 years must really be worth it. When I got home, I asked Mother how to spell epiphany, then looked it up in my dictionary. The dictionary says this: sudden intuitive perception of or insight into the reality or essential meaning of something, usually initiated by some simple, commonplace occurrence or experience. That's the only bad thing about dictionaries. You start by looking up one word and end up having to look up 7 other words to understand the first word. I led the dictionary to Mother and Father. They were sitting on the kitchen table talking. I plopped it down. "Translate, please." Father opened the dictionary to him. "What's the word?" "Epiphany." He didn't even look. He closed the book and said, "Think of a light going on. An epiphany is being surrounded by darkness and bumping all around. Something happens or is said that causes a light to be switched on, and everything becomes clear. It's when you suddenly understand something, the moment you really get it. So that was what Dr. Bracy meant. She'd said something about Robin Hood, and it was like a light came on for Jimmy. A dim light, but that's probably the best you could expect from a pie thief. So in chapter 3, Deza, loving all of her words, found a new one that she wanted to look up in the dictionary after her conversation with Dr. Bracy. As the chapter was going on, were there any words that you weren't exactly sure about? Words that sounded really important. Maybe they just caught your attention. Maybe they were just interesting to hear in your ears, or maybe to say out of your mouth, because some words are just fun to say, like umbrella. Sounds fun. So either way, we learn new words as we read. Take a listen to chapter 3 once again and see if there are any words that you want to look up in the dictionary as well. I heard some really cool ones like conversationalist, lugged, and I also heard the really cool word mortified. Those might be new words for anyone watching this video. Take a look in the dictionary and see what you find out. You might need your mom, dad, or big sister to help you really understand it, just like Deza needed her father to help her understand epiphany. Happy word hunting, and have a great day.